This is O. Henry's The Cactus. The Cactus is a short article in O. Henry's short story line. The most notable thing about time is that it is so purely relative. A large amount of reminiscence is, by common consent, conceded to the drawing man, and it is not past belief that one may review an entire courtship while removing one's glove. That is Drysdale was doing standing by a table in his bachelor apartment, that in the table stood a singular-looking green plant in a red earthen jar. The plant was one of the species of cacti and was provided with long tentacular leaves that perpetually swayed with the slightest breeze with a peculiar beckoning motion.
Dragon friend, the brother of the British, stood at a sideboard complaining at being allowed to drink alone. Both men were in evening dress, white fable-like stars upon their coats shone through the gloom of the apartment. As he slowly unbuttoned his gloves, their pastor tried to make a swift, terrifying retrospect of the last few hours. It seemed that in his nostrils was still the scent of the flowers that had been banked in odorous mess about the church, and in his ears the low-pitched hum of a thousand well-bred voices, the whistle of Chris Germain, and most insistently recurring the thrilling words of the minister irrevocably binding her to another.
From this less hopeless point of view, he still strove, as if it had become a habit of his mind, to reach some conjecture as to why and how he had lost her. Shaken rudely by the uncompromising fact, he had suddenly found himself confronted by a thing he had never before faced, his own innermost unmitigated, unbacked self. He saw all the garbs of pretense and egoism that he had worn now turned to rags of folly. He shuddered at the thought that to others, before now, the garment of his soul must have appeared sorry and threadbare. Vanity or conceit? These were the joints in his armor, and now free from either he had always been. But why?
As he had slowly moved up the altar he had felt unworthy, sullen exultation that had served to support him. He had told himself that his happiness was from thought of another than the man to whom she was about to give herself. But even that poor consolation had been wrenched from him. For when she was that swift, limpid upward look that he gave the man, when he took her hand, he knew himself to be forgotten. Once that same look had been raised to him, and he had gauged its meaning. Indeed, his conceit had crumbled. Its last prop was gone. Why had it ended thus? There had been no quarrel between them, nothing.
For the thousandth time, he remarshalled in his mind the event of those last few days before the tide had so suddenly turned. She had always insisted him upon a pedestal, and he had accepted her homage with royal grandeur. It had been a very sweet incense that she had burned before him, so modest, so childlike, and worshipful, and so sincere. She had invested him with an almost supernatural number of high attributes and excellencies and talents, and he had observed the oblation as a desert drinks the rain that coax from it no promise of blossom or fruit.
As Drysdale grimly wrenched apart the seam of his last glove, the crowning instance of his virtuous and tardily mourned egoism came vividly back to him. The scene was the night when he had asked her to come out on his pedestal with him and share his greatness. He could not, now, for the pain of it, allow his mind to dwell upon the memory of her convincing beauty that night, the careless wave of her hair, the tenderness and virginal charm of her looks and words. But they had been enough, and they had brought him to speak. During their conversation he had said,
"And Captain Carruthers tells me that you speak the Spanish language like a native. Why have you hidden this accomplishment from me? Is there anything you do not know?" Now, Carruthers was an idiot. No doubt he Drysdale had been guilty. He sometimes did such things, of airing at the crowd some old, canting Castilian proverb dug from the hodgepodge at the back of dictionaries. Carruthers, who was one of his incontinent admirers, was the very man to have magnified this exhibition of doubtful erudition.
But alas, the insatiable hope of admiration had been so sweet and fleeting. He allowed the impression to pass without Daniel. Without protest, he allowed her to twine about his brow this spiritual base of Spanish scholarship. He let it grace his conquering head, and among its sharp complexes, he did not feel the break of the sun that was to pierce him later. How quiet, how shy, how tremulous she was! How she played thus like a snare-out bird when he raised his minor teeth at a pig! He could have sworn, and he could swear now, that unmistakable consent was in her eyes. But coolly, she would give him no direct answer. "I will send you my answer tomorrow," she said, and he, the indulgent, confident Victor, smiling granted the detailing. The next day he waited, impatient, in his room for the word.
And in her, groom came to the door and wrapped the strange cactus in the red earthen jar. There was no note, no message, merely a tag upon the plant bearing a barbarous foreign or botanical name. He waited until night, but her answer did not come. His large pride and hurt vanity kept him from seeking her. 2 evenings later they met at the dinner. Were conventional, but she looked at him, breathless, wondering, eager. He was courteous, adamant, waiting her explanation. With womanly swiftness, she took her cue from his manner, and turned to snow and ice, thus and winter. From this on, they had drifted apart. Where was he first? Who had been to blame? Humbert now. She sought the answer amid the ruins of his self-conceit.
The voice of the other man in the room, carelessly intruding upon his thoughts, aroused him. "I say, Trisdale, what the deuce is the matter with you? You look unhappy, as if you yourself had been married instead of having acted merely as an accomplice. Look at me, another accessory. Come 2,000 miles on a Kaliki cockroach banana steamer all the way from South America to connive at the sacrifice. Please to observe how lightly my guilt rests upon my shoulders. Only little sister I had too, and now she's gone. Come now, take something to ease your conscience." "I don't drink just now, thanks," said Drysdale. "Your brandy," resumed the other, coming over and joining him, "is abominable. Run down to see me some time at Punta Redonda."
and try some of our stuff that old Garcia smuggles in. As worth the trip, hello, here's an old acquaintance. Wherever did you rake up this cactus, Trisdale?
A present, said Trisdale. From a friend. Know the species? Very well. It's a tropical concern. See hundreds of them around Punta every day. Here's the name on this tag tied to it. Know any Spanish, Trisdale? No, said Trisdale, with a bitter wraith of a smile. Is it Spanish? Yes. The natives imagine the reefs are reaching out and beckoning to you. They call it by this name, Ventormen. Name means in English, come and take me.